I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. Let the whole world watch a joke. The US and EU foreign ministers almost had a falling out in public, right at the G7 foreign ministers meeting. An unexpected scene occurred. The EU's foreign policy chief, Kallas, directly questioned Rubio why the Trump administration reneged without increasing pressure on Russia. His tone was very aggressive, according to sources. Rubio was very annoyed at the time, directly raised his voice, emphasizing that the US is making the greatest effort to end the conflict and counterattacked, saying if Kallas could do better, the US can withdraw, let the EU take over. Seeing the situation was not right, other G7 foreign ministers intervened to ease the atmosphere. After the meeting, Rubio also specifically communicated with Kallas individually. The US State Department glossed over this episode, emphasizing it was a candid exchange. Firstly, it revealed the EU's deep-seated anxiety. That is, the US tending towards appeasement with Russia, ignoring Europe's security concerns. Hence, Kallas wanted a definitive answer from the US Secretary of State. What he wanted to know was, since last year, the US has been saying if Russia takes a negative attitude towards peace talks, Trump will lose patience and take strong measures. Now, Russia chooses to stall. Kallas almost said directly, Russia is treating the US warnings as wind past their ears. The Trump administration needs to take it seriously. Otherwise, future negotiations will be greatly diminished in effect. If former Foreign Minister Borrell were here as a seasoned professional diplomat, he might take a more moderate tone and wording. But Kallas does not have so many scruples. He inherently belongs to the extreme anti-Russian hawk camp and is not good at beating around the bush. Moreover, since he took office as the EU foreign policy chief, judging from the performance during this period, Kallas' role is the one responsible for offending people. Clearly, the patience of the US in dealing with Russia far exceeds the patience in dealing with allies. Otherwise, Rubio would not have shown displeasure and contradicted Kallas on the spot, even saying something like, if you can, you do it. The logic of the Trump administration is very simple. Only the US has the power to mediate between Russia and Ukraine. The EU has no qualification to dictate Trump's policy. Secondly, the reason Rubio did not tolerate the EU foreign minister's offense is because he wants to control the rhythm of this G7 meeting. This G7 foreign ministers meeting lasts 2 days. Rubio only attended the second day's agenda. The purpose is more than clear. The US hopes European allies can cooperate with its actions in the Middle East. They choose to preserve themselves, and that's it, but want to disrupt on the Russia-Ukraine issue. This shows a lack of scripting understanding. Everyone knows the US is now completely uninterested in Russia and Ukraine, and without the US mediating, the Russia-Ukraine peace process has essentially ended. During this period, although there has not been an outbreak of large-scale conflicts between Russia and Ukraine, Russia is seizing the time to continue encroaching on Ukrainian land. Ukraine has also increased its efforts to strike at Russia's key facilities. In the past, Trump would have already on social media, half calling, half threatening both parties to ceasefire. Now there is no movement at all. It is evident, the current United States, there is no extra energy to complete the concluding work of the Russia-Ukraine peace talks, although over time, the achievements made will gradually regress. But this is an issue for Europe to worry about. Rubio's mission on this trip is to have the EU actively coordinate with the US, not to listen to the EU's complaints. Ultimately, the Trump administration does not believe that it owes either side anything in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, making the EU's demands on the US unrealistic. Rubio emphasized the United States is attempting to dialogue with both Russia and Ukraine, but it's not without bias. The fact that Ukraine can still receive American weapons, intelligence, and other support is the best evidence. However, from the perspective of the EU, the United States may need to take stronger measures to promote cooperation with Ukraine, preferably aligning with the Biden administration's period. But this precisely violates Trump's taboos. Even before departing to attend the foreign ministers' meeting, Rubio complained to the media that the US is always asked by Europe to get involved in the war. Now, when the US calls on allies to get involved, Europe is instead silent. Possibly the American logic is, since the EU wants the US so much to focus on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, then quickly help solve the Middle Eastern mess. So everyone is happy. However, on this issue, both the US and Europe are taking missteps. The US does not want to increase involvement in the Russia-Ukraine issues to normalize US-Russia relations and fall short. Europe is also unwilling to divert energy to focus on the Middle East chaos. The priorities of both sides are different, and there are even somewhat acute contradictions. This situation in previous US-European interactions was very uncommon, to be honest. This degree of confrontation is completely within the acceptable level of the US-European alliance framework. As the US State Department said, it was a frank communication in a diplomatic context. Frank means speaking openly and honestly, clearly expressing each other's concerns. Kallas and Rubio did just that. However, if during the Biden administration, the US and Europe had a tacit understanding on many geopolitical hotspots, there was no need for both sides to raise their voices. But since this communication was with the Trump administration, if the EU cannot frankly express its views, how can it make the US respect its concerns?